Good morning, Ultra developers. Today we're going to have a look at some really groundbreaking new technology that no one has ever done, to my knowledge. Some stuff that I've never seen anybody do. We're really digging into the details of tessellation and displacement and making it useful. And I think this stuff is super interesting because it's completely novel. And we'll also be continuing our discussion on level design. So, first of all, the tessellation shaders. This laptop supports tessellation, but it's not working in here. I just tried it. For some reason, the edges aren't. But I'm going to show you here. This actually demonstrates the basic problem with tessellation, is that you have a lot of problems getting edges of things to line up. And I've showed a lot of screenshots recently.
And there's also like this distortion when you move the camera.
There can be if it's not high enough, if the subdivision is not high enough. But we've solved the problem of cracks and seams. And you can use this brush geometry now with all these details popping out of it. And you don't have to worry about, even if there's a mismatch, even if there's a seam for the texture coordinate and the normal, it just gets automatically sealed. That's most of what I've been working on this week. Let's see. I'll show you how it does that. So the brush construction got more intelligent, and I started adding. I added a ring, like a skirt of polygons around the outside, and I also subdivided the interior of the surface so that no single section is too big for the tessellator. And it's not just for boxes; it's also for, well, every shape possible. The math for figuring this out and getting it perfect. I mean, it was easy to get it set up at first, but getting it perfect took a lot of work. It's actually like quite a lot of code. Here's a good shot of exactly. Here you can see once I got it perfect on odd shapes like this, you had the exact width of that outer ring of polygons around it. Here it's just showing space, but this shows the dimensions are all correct.
Mhm.
And here you see, even with these really extremely odd shapes, the width of this edge here is constant. All the way here to here. I had to like take the edges and then pull them in, move them in, and do like a plane intersection test to find the point where they collide. Fortunately, I've got a lot of code for plane math and constructive solid geometry and all this intersection code, so that proved to be very helpful. And what you do is on those edges, on the outer edge, you set the displacement to 0, and that just pulls in the corners of the objects. At the same time, I also used this to add a little bevel effect. You can see here the edges of these brushes are not. It's no longer perfectly round. It's no longer perfectly sharp edge. It's now got this nice rounded effect, and this is done just by setting the normal at that corner to halfway in between the two faces. Because it's CSG, I can easily figure out which two faces are on each edge. And I could do this with 3ds Max, but it would just take a really long time. I actually found, I think it looks better if you just don't actually make like a little geometric bevel. You just rotate the normal a little bit. I actually think that looks better, and then you don't have the problem of having to, worry about what happens at the corners. Is there going to be a little gap there because is it going to push? Is it going to stick out, or is it going to stick in a few centimeters? You don't have all of those issues. It looks really good. It's pretty subtle, but it does make a big difference.
So it's just the normal data, not geometry.
Right. Yeah. And it's just now if you just use like smooth groups, if you just set the normal here to be halfway in between, and you didn't have this interior, you didn't have this subdivided interior, then the whole surface would be sort of curved looking. But we're restricting that curve to the edge right here, to this small section. And so it still looks, the surfaces still look flat, but it's it's got this nice rounded appearance that it looks quite nice. Now, one idea that you'll need to adapt for both tessellation and when using the beveled brushes is this idea. What I found is that you want to not have any hidden surfaces. You want to model things so that there are no hidden surfaces. So here we have two objects that appear seamless, and then we have two objects that have this visible seam in between them. And the way you get rid of that is if you hide the face, then it automatically detects these edges here will automatically detect that that face is gone, and we'll dismiss it. And the seam on that side disappeared. Let's do it on this side. And now it's seamless. Well, I can't show you today, but next week, the exact same thing. Tessellation works the exact same way. So when you're building, what I really found is when you're building things, let's see. I started building this little castle area to get a feel for how these things are created.
Yeah, there we go.
And I'm turning tessellation off for this. But what I really found is, I'll show you how I modeled these things. This is one piece. This is one piece. This is one piece. That's wrong, actually. This is one piece. It's okay. Yeah, this is best right here. This corner here is done correctly. And I modeled things so that anytime, what I wanted to avoid is stuff like this, where you have this hidden surface here. Because that will actually, if you have a hidden surface right here, it'll cause a crack to form with the tessellation. If the bottom has the surface removed, but if this top piece here does not have that surface removed, then you'll have a crack form here. So it's better to model things like I did over here, where there's no hidden surfaces. It's a little bit different, and to get it perfect, if you want to get it absolutely perfect, it does take more work. But the good news is it's a pretty simple idea. And once I started doing it, I was able to solve, it seems to solve everything that I tried to do. Let's take a look with just seams.
I also think this is a great reminder that the face tool exists, because a lot of people ask about, oh, how do I hide these faces? And this is like another way of using that feature.
Well, it certainly makes it more obvious. So okay, so here this is what I mean. So this is just with the bevel, but it's not that bad. But with tessellation, you would actually see a crack there. Or no, actually, you would not see a crack. You would only see a crack. You would see a crack if one face was hidden and one face was not. If both faces are shown like this, then the geometry will just sort of like pull back in, and you will have a seam there where everything goes in all the way. You'll have a seam there, but you won't. I'll show you what a seam looks like. Oh, I can't actually. Sorry. But if we make that top and bottom face hidden, then it just completely the bevel seam goes away, and the same thing will happen with tessellation. And let me show you over here. See how this seam is here, and there's no way I can hide it. The only way I can hide it is if I hide this face. Well, now this is gone, but now I've got this missing face here. So what you really want to do with this stuff is model it from the beginning in such a way that there are just no hidden surfaces. So now, I've got this surface that occupies that area. I can hide that, and the problem is solved. Hide that one. So, yeah, I mean, that is actually like super, super simple. Compared to trying to model all of this kind of stuff in 3ds Max, it's possible, but it would take a really long time. This is an extremely simple way to get results very quickly.
Yeah, and it's normal data, it's not mesh data, so.
Well, here, yeah, for the bevels, you can see the corner here is still sharp.
Yeah, but it doesn't look sharp. Unless you right up there.
But as just a general technique, it does look quite good. And the exact same principles apply to tessellation, which I'll be able to show you in more detail next week.
So, with hidden faces become more important, do you plan on actually implementing a feature where there's a one-button solution to hide all hidden faces?
Maybe.
Yeah, because a lot of people, how I build maps, I shift and drag the same brush over and over, scale and resize, and I'm not really paying attention nor really care what textures I'm using. I'm just shifting and dragging and scaling. But then when it comes time to do tessellation or beveling, I would I don't want to have to go back and go through every wall, because that's really annoying and tedious.
Well, it would also be useful if we had the cut tool.
Oh, the slice tool? I've been asking for that for
yeah.
Well, we'll see what the Tooth Fairy brings. Here's a couple more shots. Let's see.
Yeah, that looks really good. I think that's a really good demonstration, because you would think that those are models or meshes, but no, it's just brushes.
Yeah, so this geometry here, so you can see the bevel here. It's just a subtle thing, but it does look quite nice. And then these are just simple block walls, and you just automatically get all of this detail. And what you're actually looking at is this. I think I added these two little columns, but that's all it is. Super, super simple geometry, and yet we apply some effects to it, and it looks so great. And I really like this approach because an architect does not draw every little brick in his building design. He'll just draw a wall and say, okay, this wall is made out of bricks. And so this is about as close as we can get, I think, to creating structures from just drafting out a sketch of the building and then just having the algorithms fill in all of the detail. I think this is a really really cool approach.
Yeah, and it's like we it looks like we have the best of both worlds now, because now we have the very easy to use CSG tools, but now we can make it look like they're actually like models and meshes now with tessellation and the bevel tool.
Yeah. Also, based on like the stuff I've seen, I actually think parallax occlusion mapping. I think I discounted it too quickly because my attitude was has been, well, if we have tessellation, why we don't need these old parallax effects because we can just have actual 3D geometry right now. But I think tessellation is appropriate for surfaces that have details that are about 2 or 3 centimeters or bigger popping out of the surface. I think parallax occlusion mapping is probably a better solution for things that have finer details. So stuff that doesn't pop out to where it has a silhouette, where it's more like recessed, or things that are just very small details. I think it like parallax occlusion mapping actually works better for that stuff. So I think we're gonna have a combination of those two effects, and some surfaces will use one, and some will use the other.
Yeah, for example, for bullet decals.
Yeah,
Other
I think that
stuff.
stuff. Yeah, I think that's actually. And I had a screenshot from like
Like Counter Strike or something.
Cyberpunk.
Not like Alfear has huge ass holes though.
Let's see. Posted a screenshot of
Yeah.
Cyberpunk
Oh, with that
2077.
crater.
A few days ago.
Yeah, you guys were blowing
Oh
up
yeah. You,
Discord yesterday.
What happened?
How many versions of the same upsampled Quake
It's
texture?
not in this Discord, by the way. It's in our group where the screenshots are.
Okay. If somebody can find it, you can please post it.
Alright.
yeah, I think you put it in screenshot.
Oh, okay.
Let's see us go.
I know. I posted into not in the Ultra Engine Discord. This was in our X-Form group.
Oh, can you copy it from there if you see it?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, let's see. So also, I added a Lambertian shader. This is just, it assumes that the light is non-directional. So the lighting with this approach, the lighting does not move when based on your viewpoint, which I find a little bit more. I get tired of seeing the Fresnel effect on everything, especially because in real life there's a lot of surfaces. I'd say the majority of surfaces have no discernible Fresnel effect.
And if it does, it's so small you can't really hardly tell. So.
Yeah, and it doesn't like, and or it's so little that it doesn't really compress into the limited color precision of a computer monitor. So here's some screenshots from Counter Strike 2, and I just noticed they use they use the specular reflection pretty sparingly, and I think that's something I've observed in the past is like chrome and reflective surfaces. They really look best when they're used sparingly. It's like trim, and you see the same thing in industrial design, like automobiles. Unless it's like the Cybertruck, they're rarely made out of the entire thing made out of chrome. They usually just use it as trim. And the same thing goes for, I think, for game level design. Here you can see, I mean, the vast majority of this is just flat
I,
lighting.
the top floor uses specular.
Yeah, yeah. And it kind of looks better because it's
It has
just in
something
that
to
one.
contrast with.
What's that?
It contracts with everything else.
Yeah, you don't have this like yeah, because if it's too much, it feels like everything's shifting around. It kind of feels like a hall of mirrors.
It's
It,
I thought for
illusion.
one chrome moment.
so here, like the vast majority of the scene, these brick walls, there's absolutely no Fresnel specular anything here except for the puddle, and so it really makes the puddle like pop out. So that's another tool for your use. I think floors typically, even if it's like concrete, uh, they probably should usually use this because simply because you're always looking at a floor at a low angle, and so
Right?
like very oftentimes you will see a discernible effect there, but like walls, if it's something that's a very flat, very rough material, I think it looks better when it's only used on some surfaces.
And then you have like my example where I do want the specular, but I want it very minusculely. So when you like look at it, you see cracks in it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. Again, you're using it as basically as like a trim effect. No, that wasn't the one. I posted a screenshot of a of like a crater in the ground.
Yeah, it was in the road.
well, Anthony saw it, and it must be in one of the public chats.
Yeah, I saw it. It's in the Discord here somewhere.
Oh, I found it. I found it. I found it. I'm just gonna repaste it. I'm gonna repaste it in
Okay.
chat. Hold on.
Start event.
There we go.
Who is A?
That's me.
That's Anthony.
Who are,
My name is cut off on your screen.
yeah, who are you on the forum?
And the same name, Anthony Python.
Okay, I just see A. I think it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm in like streamer mode or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
so this
Yeah.
you couldn't really do this with tessellation, honestly. It would require so many polygons. Like, I mean, once it gets down to where you have like the size of a polygon is about once the details get to about 1 pixel, then that's when we really reach the limits of what rasterization can provide. And so for that purpose, it actually makes sense for something like this to use array marching.
Like cracks and stuff.
Yeah, it actually makes a lot of sense to use a ray marching approach because you're starting with the screen pixel, and then you're doing a type of search to find the right texture to the right place to sample the texture from. So I think, and this is also a recessed detail. It's going in. You're not gonna, if you're looking at this at a glancing angle, you're not going to. There's nothing popping out of the surface, so there's no silhouette to see. So for this stuff, I think parallax occlusion mapping is actually more appropriate than tessellation. It's not just a fallback.
It's also performant.
Oh, you have to take a lot of samples to make it look good, but I haven't done a comparison. Huh? Interesting. Oh, cool. Thank you, Dumaj. Thank you for the article. I will read that later. By the way, we have some results from the first Leadworks Games bundle that was released last week on Steam, with including Leadworks and 3 indie games with it. And all the numbers that we got back from the authors of this, everybody was saying that it tripled their sales. So pretty happy with that result, and that's very promising for future things. I think we actually have I think there's a lot of games in like the game launcher and the game jam like competition games that I still have copies of all that stuff on Google Drive. I think a lot of that stuff could very justifiably be uploaded on Steam and sold for like 99 cents or $1.99 because there's some pretty fun like little mini games in there and people like stuff that's like different and unique. Um, so things like Lone Water is one that comes to mind. Little Dragon, um, some other stuff like that. I think those things would actually I would be happy to add those to a new bundle in the future. Let's see.
Oh, nice. Well, again, it's been so long.
Is the video down or is it just an error? The thumbnail is
I
up.
think that was a YouTube error.
Well, the thumbnail works, which, I mean, normally if the video has been taken down, the thumbnail would be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great little.
Hello and welcome
indie
to
game.
Lone Water Prologue.
Put this up on Steam.
This is a
We'll
game
add this to
I was
a new
afraid it was
bundle
gonna crash.
if you want.
Oh, hello. That deep?
I think the
Must
issue
be
is
that deep.
contacting all these people because it's been so long.
Oh, I talked. Well,
It's also
Dumash
moving
is
I
on
don't
the
think it's
Discord
holding
right
on.
now.
I died.
He's on the other channel. I don't know if he's in the chat, but we're talking about him and how
Yeah,
cool he
he's in
is.
the-
There he is. Yeah. Oh yeah. These people, they're so far away. How do we ever contact them?
Oh, not
wait,
him.
he's
But,
right
like-
below me.
Yeah.
Where are these
Talk about-
people? Where will I ever find them?
Talk about like other people like you try to get for the first bundle.
Yeah. Anyways. Okay,
Time for
so
Josh to send out more posters.
yeah. So, do we have any questions about Tessellation? I'll be able to show it in more detail next week. I'm sorry, my laptop is apparently not compatible with these shaders right now.
Is that an NVIDIA thing or is that just
What's that?
is that like because you haven't you develop on AMD and you didn't test NVIDIA yet?
No, I don't think so. I think the NVIDIA drivers are a little bit different between what I've got between a desktop GPU and a 1660 mobile card.
So it's like mobile with dedicated. Might be.
The drivers might not be playing nice either.
It's a 1660, so I think it actually is a discrete card. But I mean, the laptop graphics drivers are always they're always a bit different.
Yeah, they're always like behind or something.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll be able to show that in more detail. But I was able to show you like the basic concept of how you prevent seams from appearing in both using the bevel tool and also using the tessellation features.
Really cool.
Yeah, and this is really, I mean, you realize this is a problem nobody has solved. The reason tessellation never really took off until yet is because of all the issues with cracks and seams. Like I think everybody, at the 1.0 release of this, I think everybody took a look at tessellation and they got to that issue and then they said, "Oh, I guess it's not that useful," and that's kind of where it stopped for a lot of developers, I think. So having that available and having it be easy to control is something that is totally new.
Well, one thing I'm worried about is physics, because it's popping on the wall, so the collider is not scaling with the tessellation.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, but it still doesn't look like it's like if you have like a box and you put it next to the brick wall, you're gonna see overlapping with the object in tessellation.
Well, it depends on, like, so you have two factors
Mhm.
here. I mean, you have the offset like that, and then you have the amplitude. So you can adjust those so that, okay, so here's what it looks like normally, and here's what it looks like with tessellation. I can adjust this, let's say
Mm.
-5, and then the scale is going to be 5.
Literally no difference.
Wait, what's going on here? Okay, it's not multiplying something right. But it'll make it so that with these settings, it'll make it so that the maximum is what it normally would be. So
Right.
it depends on the material, and in the future, what we can also do like more complex. I mean, we can bake that. We can generate this a simplified version of this and bake it into the geometry and use that for the collider.
Mm.
I mean, that's not that hard to do. Let me think for a second, and that would still be. I guess it wouldn't. I guess it wouldn't be a concave. At that point, it would be just a mesh polygon. Basically, it wouldn't be a concave. It wouldn't be a convex object anymore. And in many situations, probably the majority of situations, you would not want that.
Right.
Because if the player's running by this, you don't want them getting hung up on the individual bricks. I mean, for this stuff, I think it would look fine without it. You also might maybe we want simplified collision with the player and a little bit more complex collision with other objects. That's also an option. So I'm not too worried about that issue. I'm not going to do it right away, but it's not a very hard problem to solve.
I also think that in the most cases you don't want to have a mesh collider for the tessellation.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Let's see. So that's all. That's all I've got about tessellation and beveling this week. Very cool stuff, though. Look at that.
Very neat.
Quite an upgrade. And it's very easy to control. So if there are no other questions about that, I created some graph paper here with this. It's got major lines every 8. Well, the one I uploaded has major lines every 8 spaces, which makes it great for our stuff. I also have some sketches. Let's see.
Hey, there's Marcel's here.
Marcel is in the voice chat now.
Okay, I already have it. So here's the graph paper. I realized after I drew these sketches that this is what I needed.
Yeah.
So that's extremely useful to have because then you can actually get the right measurements. Here are my sketches. So these are railing segments. Each of these is this little beam here, this little column. This is half of the column, and then you put the next piece, and together they form one whole piece. Here's a kind of sheared version to go up a few steps. I don't know the exact measurements on this. We need like your long piece, and then we can also make one that's like several of these long all together. That would be good. A corner piece. Here's a support beam. I know that this is 512 units tall. I don't know how wide it is yet, but it's basically got this girder kind of look. Here's some chain link segments. You've got to have a middle piece. You've got to have an end piece like this, and then you need a corner piece. And then you have this segment that goes in between them. I need to draw I want something with like a doorway built into it so that you can go through it. This will look really good in various spots. Here's the one window that we I did not see you make last week. The
Yeah.
door, the stuff you
I
did
just-
looks really good.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out like the general like window shape. I wanted to establish like our like sizes for things, and that kind of window. I was thinking about doing it. You could just rotate one of the windows I already did, but it won't look like a factory. I think you want like a
I want
like a
6x2
base.
panes.
Yeah, so but that's like a different kind of window. I did more of like a typical house window.
Yeah. Yeah, those looked really good. Here's a girder piece. I'm gonna take this and put it in between two of these. Like the girder will go right here, but it's also useful on its own, I think. Um, then there's this style of like support girder type thing. It's got four sides with these, this diagonal pattern. This is what the top looks like. Here's the wood construction piece from that previous map that we did. So I sketched these out very quickly. I think I can go back and do better versions of them using that special graph paper that I have now. But that's my basic ideas. Would you like to talk about your windows and doorways, and anything else
Yeah.
related to level design?
Yeah, so let me just load up. The X1 project is kind of a little bit messed up right now, but let me just. Alright, let me just. My editor made music.
Did you make a extension that plays "Can't Touch This" when it starts?
Yeah, it also plays a lot of other songs.
Reeve, you're gonna have to add Castlevania.
I have a lot of songs. It just played.
Does it play
just
one
recalled-
randomly?
Yeah, and it actually recalled me just now.
Abnormal safety level. Please call management immediately.
Alright, so
Alright.
this map is fine. Alright,
Grab
I'm
my
gonna start
apartment.
streaming.
Anybody?
Give me a second.
This
You
is
see
such a weird
anybody?
game. It's so cool.
Okay. Can't go that way.
Games.
Back to the
Alright.
spooky hallway. Oh God!
I'm ready when you're ready.
Stop! And so my journey.
Okay.
Alright.
Watch stream.
Alright, so these doors, so I took time to revisit some doors. I made some door models a while back. Let me see if I can find them real quick. Doors. I know it's here. Example concept. So I originally made this door frame. I didn't really, it was okay, but I didn't like it because it actually wasn't perfect because I needed some of a lip here. So you can see like right here, if I can focus on that. Let's focus on that. So like I had this lip here and it was kind of hard to align doors to it because you had this lip here. So I went back to the drawing board on that and it created this door frame. Now this door frame does not have any lip. It's actually perfect, but now you actually have to hide these faces in interior here. But you'll get an absolute perfect measurement, absolutely perfect when it's like that.
Yeah,
then
and
for
I
the-
think when everything lines up to like a 32 size grid, especially with this stuff, it makes it a lot easier. And I think I think it's worth like being really meticulous about it with this kind of stuff because these are going to be used over and over and over again.
Yeah, and I wanted as much player space for the player door because doors are really like a bottleneck when it comes to like gameplay because you can have enemies and players trying to get through the doors. And
Or
the
a
bigger the
natural
door-
choke.
Yeah, that choke point. And I created a new door model. So this is just a basic door. It fits right in here. I don't know why it's not lining perfectly. It should. Um, and the handle is actually I gotta fix the material, but the handle is actually its own vertex group. So the idea is that we can actually like rotate this without animation for VR and just in general. It's separate from the actual mesh.
So it's a separate limb.
Yeah, it's its own vertex group. I was gonna animate them, but vertex group might be actually better.
I think it's probably easier to just control that programmatically because then we can easily just change the behavior however we want it to be.
Right. And we have a handle, but I also want like a push bar kind of thing where you push
In the school
the
cafeteria
yeah,
doors.
hospital. So Windows, I was looking at games like Deadlock, and they actually do a lot of Windows, like modern Windows. And it originally started just like having just have this glass panel here, and then just behind it just dark. But then I revisited the concept. Ooh, oh, that's refraction going on. That's why it looks weird. I'm gonna turn that off. Refraction. Turn that off. Um, but I decided just to do one window piece, and then if you like, if this is like a building high up, and you just want like a void in the back, where you put like a curtain texture behind it or whatever. Like, let's see, just drag this out. You can do something like this. Do something like that, and it'll actually look like it's a full window, but you won't. You don't have to draw what's behind it as long as the wall thickness is right. It looks like a window cell. And you can probably turn this into a. I'm gonna just load up one of my test materials. It's like a carpet material we can use. Yeah, I think it's like here. Let's just pretend that's curtains. You can just put curtains on there and it'll look right. We also have the other window frame. That's the GLTF version. This is more of a factory kind of one. It's not the one Josh wants, but it's more of like brick.
Very Half-Life 2 window.
Yeah, that's why I just looked at it. But
I think you scaled it. You had the
yeah.
scale tool.
Let's see. Yep. So, and then this is just white, but you can change it whatever color you want. So if you want like a little bit darker, you can do that. Maybe you want it. Or what you can do when we have material skins, you can probably just change the material of it. That will actually be kind of nice if you can just select it, go here, and just select what skin and what material you want. You don't want to use the actual like. You can't actually change the material from here, but it would be nice if you could just be like, oh, I want this to be wood or I want this to be metal. But for now, it's just a windowsill. But you can always duplicate the textures in the model if you need different variants of it. The one that Josh wants is more similar to this, but yeah, these frames need to be squared. So not really sure. I could probably just use the same frame and just do different.
Move the vertices around.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's just ideas right now.
Yeah, and actually, like based on what you guys have been saying, I'm actually like at first, like I'm convinced that modeling these things individually is better, and like we don't need to bake door frames into textures. And then what I would like to see is I would like to have a decal specifically made around the size of the door and the standard window, so that you get like some edges. So you could put a decal like right around that window, and it would be precisely aligned so the middle is empty where the window is, and then it would just have like details appear along the edges of the window frame on the wall. because with that, we've got all of our environment, all of our wall textures, and all of our window textures, and all of our window frame decals, and with that we can mix and match to a great extent and have a lot of variety with
So you want something like this where
yeah, like have some exposed concrete or something, whatever the under layer is around that window.
Like edge layer stuff around the edges and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if we can do that, then that will allow us to create a lot of variety with like minimal effort. This whole process, I'm thinking about like not how to make the best possible environment with unlimited resources, but how do we create the maximum reusability with the minimal amount of effort.
right. Speaking of edge things, edge mapping, with the beveling, would there be a way to test to see like can the material have like smart edges where if it detects a bevel, we can like do something to highlight those bevels, or
The idea occurred to me. I
but you
think I would
haven't
have to
tracked?
do. I think I would have to do that by adding extra geometry with
Mhm.
transparency that appears in the exact same spot, like along those edges. I don't think you could do that in a shader really. Um, like if there was an edge across the yeah, it's possible, but it's probably like too much. Like it's probably too far out of scope for for the immediate future.
Yeah, that's fair. Just appearance. Oh, I didn't make a material from it. I just wanted to see about that. I just baked. These are just AO bakes for the windows,
Hmm.
and I got an AO bake for the door. I don't know if they're just in the developer utility folder for right now because they might become handy for texturing
Yeah.
or
No,
just
for
bake.
the door is how wide is the door? Is it 128?
Yeah, 128, and then these individual pieces are 64. So
Okay, so if we keep power of two textures, then the door you got the exact dimensions of the door for decals.
yeah,
That has to cover the whole wall. What about windows? Can we fit that into like a 128 by 128 space?
well, I think the windows are a little bit wider. I think it's like 80 or something. Yeah, it's 80 here.
How tall are they?
They are. I think it's like two. It was a nice number. I wouldn't.
Okay, so
144.
144 centimeters. So that means I think I'm going to change that to centimeter. It's showing centimeters all the time, by the way.
Thank you.
It kind of
Because
goes back and forth sometimes.
well, it uses it chooses based on like what the measurement is. It converts it into the right units, um, but
Sometimes it doesn't, though. I've had it say like 100 and then it changed to 1 meter sometimes.
Yeah, like here, it rounds up.
Yeah.
okay. Well, I think like centimeters is more intuitive if it's just uniform. But anyways, so for the window, it looks like we could probably fit that into a 256, a 128 by 256 space.
Mhm.
Like we don't need that full because if you've got that decal, I mean every surface, every pixel that a decal covers has a computational cost. So if we can slice that in half on the horizontal axis, then that would be better. You want your decals to be as small as possible.
Right. And also, you'll get into issues where you'll have like these black seams at the bottom of the decal. I was running into some decal issues when
We can fix that using the render layers.
the black seams like from bad pixels or
Like so that it won't affect the surfaces that you don't want it to affect.
no, what I was talking about. Let me change my project. Let's load up.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, I think.
Yeah, so let's say I want to add some grind back here. And I need my 4 viewports to actually do this. I can't use less than 4 for some reason. What I'd like to do is just make something. We're just going to do something like that right now. Browse. Let's do grind bottom. So I have this like grind layer right here. It's just a bar. And the idea is that I want to put this on the floor here. Right here.
You're inside the wall.
Yeah, I know I'm inside the wall. There. So let's do something like that, right? All right. Actually, let's just, and then we can change this texture size to. It's not doing it with this decal. I'm just gonna make this like 8 or something. Right, not that. So, whatever. And I want to replicate this. It might not show in this material. Might have to open it on map, but I don't want to open that map. Decal.
Where did you get the texture?
I went to textures.com, well, my old textures.com
Okay.
depository, and then I went into GIMP and modified things, and so they're custom textures, but they're based off of.
It looks cool.
So this is from decal top, but I really wish I can see. Oh yeah, you can see it right here. So yeah, I see like this black edge right here,
I can't see it. Can you get closer?
right there.
Can we take a look at the texture itself?
Yep,
I can tell you what's going on.
this one right here.
Probably need clamping on. Oh yeah. You need clamping on the. And it's
Here?
probably not going to work right now.
Nice.
Well, it's when you're using bindless textures, you have to, like, once you generate the bindless texture handle, like, all the settings have to be locked in and you can't change it after that. So I have to go back and create like a bindless handle for. It's kind of complicated. Like I have to generate a new bindless handle for any time the settings change like that.
Do you want me to send you this material so you can test it, or this is like a
Yeah, if you want, but I know exactly what's good. Like in your case, it's the UV clamping on the V axis. It needs to be clamped so that because otherwise you get that wrap around.
right?
It looks very cool across the bottom though.
Yeah. The idea is that this texture is the same source, but the idea I probably could do a little bit better blending between here and there. But the idea was that we put this on the floor and then one decal, because grime just doesn't appear on the floor; it actually gets like stuck in between the floor and the wall. It's like really hard to clean out. So
You got to get a toothbrush for that.
Yeah. So I was trying to do a decal, but it's really finicky, tricky. So
You can make it. You can make a game where you have to clean up these.
It's viscera cleanup, but it's actually
Yeah.
floors.
With a toothbrush in VR.
So
All right.
I'm pretty sure the blood is decals and
What is that? That crime scene game?
yeah, you clean up scenes of you're to clean up crew from things that happened.
Things that happened. All right.
yeah, so
Do you have any more models to show?
I revisited my example. I'm gonna wrong project. Nope. Give me a second. Go back to X1. I don't know if I want this part of the template or not, but I reworking some of my example content models. I made it. I had to like resize them because they're based off of the old frame size. But the model I want to show, if I can actually think straight, is like these models right here. So this is a great way. So this is really great because, well, probably not great, but I did this wrong. So for here, let's say, so this is what it's supposed to look like by editing the material emission. You want the world material. So let's just fix that real quick. Hold on. Adding door 1. Okay, so lighting. I think it's on the lighting. All right. So let's change this back to 255. 255. And then we'll make the actual this be red, right? So I want to make a component that when this opens, you can change its emission to like green, let's say. So
Oh, cool.
now, well, that's blue, but you get the point.
You just want to make it turn it so it turns into like a status indicator.
Yeah, so it's
Like
just
from Portal
well,
2.
Yeah, so well, Anthony, we did not have direct access to the emission colors. Lightworks, I actually had to write a custom shader that pipes the diffuse color into the emission mask.
Yeah,
But
that's
now,
fair to do.
yeah, so now we actually have that emission. So I want to make like a color component
Nice.
where you can change whatever color you want in the photograph. So, and these are good models to test that. So, but other than that, I don't really have any good models. I'm not really I'm a decent modeler, but I can't do everything. But yeah, that's pretty much. Besides my fun extensions, I don't have anything else. So
Okay, cool. By the way, Klepto has been showing off some screenshots that are making my shader code look bad, but I don't mind because his post-processing effects are way better than mine, fully admit, and I'm just happy that he's doing it. Let's see. Got some really cool stuff. Some of this was from like the week before last week, I think, but we didn't talk, really talk about
he
it.
shared his screen space ambient occlusion shader. It is a little finicky, like in the editor. I didn't try it in game yet, but it looks a lot better.
By the way, you've got more quality settings now in 098 in the beta. So your directional shadows can look like that now if you want.
Is that under options or video or?
Hmm?
Where is that? Is that
Tools, options, and now all the video settings are off, separated from the viewport. So you've got settings for anti-alias, tessellation, shader quality, which I'm not doing anything with that right now. You can control the shadow cascade distance.
Oh, okay.
Refraction, terrain, shadows, that's new. Screen space reflection and vertical sync are all in there. The shadow quality, that's a new command. This will multiply the resolution and offsets, and divide the offsets, I guess, of each shadow map used in every light in the scene. And so that can just be used to give yourself, let's take a look at shadow quality, low. Okay, so this is the lowest setting. And then let's switch that to low, medium, high, very high, and ultra. And with ultra, it's like, I think this is like an 16.3. Each cell is probably like 16.384 by 16.384 or 819. Let's see. So the default is 1024.
Can it run Ultra?
The default is that's 1024. So high is 2048, 4096. Okay, 8192. So this is with, 4 stages, 4 cascade stages, and each one is 8192 by 8192. Looks quite, it's sharp, it's still like soft on the edges and still and quite sharp. You can we can probably use more samples in the future, and that's something that the shader quality feature could be used for, possibly. And you also have control over how far the stage, the shadow cascade distance. This gets multiplied by 2 with each stage. So the first is 4 units, covers up the ground up to 4 units away. And then the next one is 8, up to 8, I guess. Or I forget what the math is. And the next one, I guess, would be up to 16, 32. So if I double this, then we've got shadows further in the distance. At the cost of, since the shadows are covering more area, they're not quite as sharp as they would be otherwise. But yeah, it's still very nice. Let's go 16. We've got it from even further away, and we can go further and further if we want. But I have the default set at 4 right now. Anyways, let's go back to... Oh, this is an experiment I did with decals actually causing tessellated geometry to pop out of the walls. And this is actually a good example. I mean, other than the fact that the skulls are coming out of the surface. I mean, this is actually shows you sort of the limitations of this effect. This is before I implemented quads on brushes, so the triangulated surfaces don't look as good. And also, I have the displacement set up way too high. This is like cartoonishly exaggerated. But the basic idea does work. Here's my skulls popping out of this block of ice. I don't know if I'm going to use that in the future, though. That's actually a nicer looking implementation of it. But that was when I started seeing stuff like this. This was when I was like, oh, okay, I think parallax occlusion mapping might actually still be really useful in some cases. So many screenshots. Let's see.
Oh, you're on the screenshots. Oh, how would you enable tessellation on models? I didn't try that yet.
There's a tool that will attempt to calculate the displacement values and stuff.
Well, do we need like a displacement map for it to do it, or?
Yeah, of course. Well, no, actually, no. I just lied.
Not mine.
Let's see. I can probably show you right here. Okay, so here's a very low poly rock.
Right.
Let's go up to materials. Okay, we don't even have to do it in the material actually. Here's subdivision. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Boom. Let's take a look at it in wireframe.
Well, this can actually be great because let's say you have like a low poly model, and then you're like, well, I want it to be high poly, and then you can just duplicate that model, load it as another log, and then in log 1 you can just enable subdivision.
Yeah, and it means that I actually need something. I want to find something that's more blocky and not as
Like
high
my
detail
doors?
because
Like
that
my
shows
doors?
the effect even more.
Like my doors.
No, because those aren't round. This is a good. Okay, so here's a very low poly model. This is a good example of what it does. And now it's a high poly model. So not only does this apply surface detail, can this be used to apply surface detail, but it can also be used as a continuous LOD system where you just model the low resolution of the object you want, and then that's all you need is a very low poly object, and then just let the tessellator create the high poly versions for you. Yeah, I was talking to a third-party author about this because his LODs were a huge pain for him,
Yeah,
and
pain
also
for
getting
everyone.
his LODs into Ultra, that was like kind of the bottleneck on why one DLC has not been released yet. And we were talking about this, and I was like, well, I mean, we don't even need the high resolution version if we just have the like a low poly version like this plus a displacement map. We can just make it rounded, and then use the displacement map to add more detail to it.
It is also very time consuming to make a bunch of LEDs.
Yeah, it's pain in the
It is. So yeah, so you don't even have to worry. So it also makes modeling simpler, like because you don't even have to deal with the high poly model. The vertices just act as like control points.
I wonder how to do with my cyclone props because they're not really like square. They actually have like a kind of a nice like they're hexagons, but they have like some bevels around the edges. I want to see like what it'll do with those models.
Now
Like,
this gets really interesting because reset subdivision normals. Okay. So this is what subdivision looks like without any optimization. This is a model that Marcel made for me to test with. And you can see there's cracks all over and all these edges because tessellation doesn't handle it doesn't handle hard edges, right? Wrong. It can. And then if we look at it in wireframe, there's a lot of, we don't really need all this subdivision on this axis. So we go up here, tools, smart subdivision, and it eliminated all the subdivision on this axis because it's not needed, right? That also gets rid of the texture coordinate distortion that you see sometimes. And it also sealed these gaps here very nicely. So we just have this perfectly round object no matter how far away we are or how close, it just appears round. This algorithm is not perfect yet, but I'm working on it and it's getting better. Also, Blender has a bug that it will, if it can't export OBJ objects correctly that are not triangulated. It'll skip the last face. That's what you're seeing right here. Took me a while to figure out what was going on there, but that's not the tessellation, because if I disable the tessellation, it's still there. That's Blender's exporter.
Blender also has problems with its FBX reporter too for stuff.
Yeah. So the let's see, how did I do that? I got it out of Blender somehow.
Josh, you just add DMX support.
What support?
DMX support.
The wrapper?
No, it's
Valve's format, Valve's container format
Oh.
they use for models and stuff.
Oh. Yeah, so yeah, that sucks. I'd say like probably FBX is probably I would try that, or get the geometry into some other program and export from there.
Milkshake 3D.
Well, Spider-Pig did release a Blender plugin that exports directly out of MDL, but when I went to try it, it didn't work.
It really depends on the model, I think. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't.
No, I just did
I don't really fiddle with it.
just did like a block and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't know.
So this is another thing that I've never seen. I don't think anybody's ever done this before. Like tessellation with hard edges. I showed
Sounds
this
like
to some people, and I think they were pretty impressed with it. So I think this is very cool stuff. Because again, the
How long did you
model,
work on this, Josh?
huh?
How long did you work on this?
I don't know. I think I probably spent about 3 or 4 weeks on it, like a year ago. That's when most of this was created. And this is the original. This is the original mesh. And then it just turns into this when we're close to it. If we're far away from it, then it gets lower poly, and it kind of reverts back to the original mesh.
automatically? Like you don't have to set up a new log for it?
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it functions as a continuous LOD system,
Interesting.
and that's like what yeah. So it also eliminates the problem of LOD popping.
Right.
Like, let me get this into the scene
If I
here.
recall, I believe Valve on characters, they did about roughly 8 LEDs, I think, wasn't it?
Maybe I think you. Oh,
Oh, that's a nice. That's actually a really nice illustration of the difference this makes. So, tessellation disabled. It's quite angular. Enabled, it gets very round. And as we get further and further away, you cannot see the changes at all. Very cool. And it just, yeah, I think this is especially really cool for VR because everything, when things are jagged in VR, it's very, very apparent, but this just looks extremely round.
So another question. Can this go the opposite way? Can you start with like a high poly mesh and then decrease?
Probably not.
That's all right. So
Because I think I can only add, subdivide details. I can't reduce them.
All right. So
But he would have to implement like a nanite like system at that point.
Well, the idea is that you create like a decent poly model, and then you use tessellation system to create a very high poly model, and then in another log section you do your manual logs.
Well, I think you don't need LODs. You don't need those manually. And I think the workflow you would use for this is basically like the same as Doom 3's workflow. You make your super high poly mesh in some sculpting software, and then you reduce that down to that stuff is usually it's designed to generate like a normal and displacement map and a low poly mesh, and then you do that, and then that reduces it down to the lowest detail, and then use the tessellation to build that detail back up. And I have some screenshots of actually a character from Doom 3 right here. This is a character from Doom 3 with the tessellation and displacement applied to it. And the original is quite angular, and then it just adds all of this detail.
Did you try the system with skeleton meshes?
It'll work. It'll work just the same. Let's see. So this tire here. Let me see if I can find.
Yeah, you fantastic.
Well,
Yeah.
he's got this, but yeah. So okay, so this is an Unreal with Nanite, and they have all this like extremely high polygon information that they have to stream in dynamically. This is the same thing on the right using Ultra's Tessellation. And to me, it makes a lot more sense to just use the vertices as control points, basically, and then just insert the extra the extra detail in procedurally. I think is actually a much nicer solution. So and it handles hard edges. It's not just for organic stuff. So I do think this is a very good response to nanite. Actually, I think in many cases this this can do a lot better than what a system like that does. And we're just starting to understand this and how it works. But so far, like, the results I'm getting are very good. And I was very happy. Like, I worked out all the seam stuff yesterday mostly, and I was very happy to see that with those castle pieces I was showing you, like, it appears that there is an answer to all of everything that I tried to do. So that's very, very cool. It means that we have like a general purpose, like, algorithm that seems robust enough to handle everything that we want to do. Anyways, what I was getting to is Klepto's post-processing effects are looking very cool. His bloom is like... Mine just looks like butter on the lens.
Yeah, I never liked your bloom stuff.
Well, I never liked it that much either. But...
Let's spread some butter on the lens.
Hopefully, he finishes it and releases it.
That's his bloom. Yeah, that looks so much better than mine. Hands down. He wins.
He's just gotta release it.
That's true. Mine is released. This is his SSAO. He has released a lot of this stuff.
He did share that in this chat because I was asking about it.
Some cool volumetric stuff. Oh. He says there's no lights in this scene. I think it's just the bloom and the indirect lighting.
Maybe the probes too.
Yeah, I think that's what
GI,
it is.
yeah, global illumination.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that looks good. Let's see.
Yeah, we're gonna have lasers of indirect lighting.
Well, I'm still waiting for my strip lights.
Oh yeah, you're still waiting for the strip lights.
They were in Ultra Engine at one point, and then he took them away.
Well, if I give you
Away
everything,
from you?
then you'll have nothing to look forward to. I have to
Alright,
space. I like to space these things out.
You're not adding the strip lights back, Josh. You're adding capsule lights.
What are capsule lights?
Exactly how you think we are.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so his post-processing effects are... I think he can just, focus on just doing that, whatever it is that he wants to focus on, which is really nice. So yeah, very, very cool work there. Some nice screenshots from Alien Head. I like this truck. Looks kind of weird. I think are we in the shadow here?
No, that's using the new shader. Yeah.
No, but like the ground, it looks like disconnected from the ground.
Maybe,
Are we
yeah.
standing in the shadow here?
Yeah, I think that's a shadow.
Okay. I would like to see what this looks like with like more light, with more lighting to see like where everything is. Okay, do we have any thoughts on level design? How are we going to do this?
Like with our level?
Interesting way to add detail using decals, yes. Yeah, like how are we going to do the so I think we have a pretty good idea of what the models are that we need to populate the scene with. We want maximum reusability, and we want stuff
Uh,
that's. I prefer stuff that is sort of forms a repeating system. Um,
right. Like what we've established last week was the standards of how we want brushes to be, and now with this new beveling and tessellation things, we now know that now it's important that we hide unseen faces and all that. Um, we know I'm a little bit skeptical about how we should handle um buildings with multiple floors. I don't know if that should be 64 units in between the floors or just 32. I'm still at the lunch to that. Um my most thing, and you gotta talk to Marcel because he's saying ideas. We have to like figure out what the actual like art directions, like what do we want, like what's the overall style of the map gonna be?
mhm.
Because Marcel was posting pictures of our game. It kind of reminded me of like Rust Belt America, just overgrown, and we can use the vegetation system with our brush geometry tools. I posted some Copilot images to just get some ideas. Um, and it has like a lot of puddles on the floor. It has this grass, and I think that's a good way. It might be a lot of assets, but it depends on what we can get from Marcel. And I pretty much told Marcel like pretty much we're doing with whatever we can get at this point. But if we can establish like what we want the actual like overall style to be, I think that would be a good start. This way we all are making the same thing.
Well, the only difference I see there is it's dirtier.
All
It's
right.
it's like rusty and dirty, right?
Yeah, well, he posted an image from a game. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of the zone. Like he has like bricks, but they're not like perfect bricks. They're like worn down and they're kind of dilapidated a little bit. And he has like some like cut wood on the side.
It's okay to use those to add detail here and there, um,
Right,
but we want the scene to be overwhelmingly based on CSG, and
right. No,
we want it to be as
it,
modular as possible.
right. We have the framework of what how to build it. Now the question is, what do we make it look like within that space?
Yeah, I've got two thoughts. One is that it's I think it's very clear that the model skinning, like the texturing of models, of finished models, I think that should be the very last step, um,
Okay, but
because
like
we have to get,
Marcel, no, should I'm sorry, but should Marcel actually model shapes out first?
well, we should get the models into this scene and make sure that everything is the right size we want, and like start using it.
Hmm.
Um, because like the doors, like we textured those, and now we're going back and deciding, well, we want our doors to be completely different. And
Right,
also, well, I don't really like the door handle we had before, so we're going to replace that. Okay, so we're redoing the whole thing. That's okay, because I mean, in any creative process, you should end up throwing out most of your work, um, because you have to iterate. You have to do it once and then figure out, okay, well, here's what I can do better. Here's what I messed
right,
up, and then keep repeating. Um, but um, I think it would be best to just model those things and then not apply. Just if you want to, just like apply a color to them. If you want, for like the rough color they're supposed to be. But I think we should have the scene pretty much finished with and populated with the models before Andy has to go in and texture them, because
right. Well, what
that way
about
we can
world
just make sure that
materials?
they're finalized.
What about world
Just make them
materials?
AL baked. Just or
Make them what?
just ambient occlusion bakes. You know, just Just no
Yeah,
text.
well,
That's
Yeah.
fine for temporary, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well-
so but the biggest concern is the what materials we're going to use for walls and floors. And Andy, this was not part of, like, you just signed on to do texturing of models. This task was not assigned to you, but if you want to, like, he uploaded a template showing like a wall with a base board, I think.
Yeah, it's the material IDs. I tested them in Armor Paint before it crashed on me. That they should work. Also, Marcel said he can chip in and do that too.
Does he have
So
Substance Painter?
yes, he does.
Oh, okay. So yeah, guys, like if that is something you would like to work on, like now's the time to do it, because otherwise, I think we're just going to end up upsampling my old textures and just using those because I don't have anything
Well,
else.
well, if we can get, well, I was explaining to Marcel, like wants to do something cool because that's how he gets engaged. He wants to be really engaged. He wants to do some cool things. I'm like, and I told him, I kind of implied to him in the chat. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you, Josh, are pretty much open to whatever as long as as long as it's like it's possible and it's not like really like tedious and long. Like you're trying to, because what we were trying to do before, we are trying to do with what we got. But if we have Marcel back now, we can probably do some. We could probably step it up a notch and actually create something really, actually good looking, but still limited and confined to the what we're set up to do. Like
Well, we need some textures on these walls, so
yeah,
it's got to happen one way or another.
all right, but are you okay with that old factory look that Marcel posted and that AI stuff and like that direction?
Um, I'm not sure how it's going to play out.
All right, but
I don't
and
want to do something like the zone because where
right.
every building was modeled individually because
No, no,
there's
not
no
like that, not like
reusability of
that,
that.
but like that art direction where that art direction. I stick with you. We're sticking with BSP. We're sticking with, Power of Two and all that. But like the art direction, like what do you want it? The overall colors, the colors, like seem to be
I don't have that
um
strong of a feeling about it.
right.
The,
So if I tell
the
we tell my
problem with this stuff, this industry stuff you posted in the channel is I think it needs a lot of time to do this because there are so many details, and if you are not doing these details, everything will not look that great. I mean,
well,
look at the pictures, how many pipes there are, how many
well,
windows,
that's
and
that's AI, and I just did to get like the feel of it. We're
It's
not gonna
also,
do
yeah,
that.
it's also a concept. I mean, what we
Yeah.
create, we're not. I don't think we're. I didn't take it as we were like literally trying to recreate that image.
But yeah, I just have to copilot like, hey, generate like a abandoned factory in Rust Belt America, and it's not we're not gonna do it, but we got some ideas off it. Like, oh, I like the puddles in the floor. I like this train. I like this like this these train tracks, or you know what I mean. I only use AI as a diving board to start discussions, not really like, oh, we
Yeah,
have to do
like
it.
my take on that was it's just like what we already have but rustier, which is fine
Yeah.
with me.
So you think we can give Marcel and the green light to start like shit working on, or at least start expressing what he wants to do, and we can go from there? Okay.
That seems like a loaded question.
Yeah. Well, we can't make things unless we like know like the
All right,
general.
who's in charge of? Is he willing to? It would help if he was here.
He was and he left, but
Oh, okay. All right. Well, he's going to do all of the work from now on, and it's going to be ready tomorrow.
well,
Do we all agree? Do we all agree?
I
when it comes to art, yes. I would reach out to him, or maybe we could start something in our chat and just add him to get his thoughts on everything. But
We need to keep him like closely aligned with how we're doing this.
Right, and I'm pretty sure he's doing that. He just wants to do something interesting too. But we got
I'd say
right.
like tell him we can tell him that we need a brick wall. We need several variations of a brick wall, and we need several variations of a metal wall. Start with that.
All right. All right. And then we
And
can.
the problem is you need to have some kits, like just said, variation of walls and all the stuff that you can, yeah, keep this together in the editor or in any model
All right. Well,
program
let's
because
start.
otherwise you can't texture a complete house. It's not possible.
Well, we'll start with bricks and see where it goes.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good
and
idea.
we're not going to bake door frames or windows into the walls, and
Well, now
we
we
want
have
to have decals that we can add around the windows. That basically gives us the same look as something baked into the wall because it's got that edge effect, but it's we can interchange the decals very
well.
easily and get a lot of variety in the appearance.
What about trims now? Now we have the bevel tool, so we don't need models, and we can actually just make another brush, add a bevel to it, and you got some nice trims.
What do you mean trims?
Like the trims on the
Trims
bottom.
like on walls and stuff and around
Yeah.
other things.
So you have a texture where it's like
No,
concrete.
I like it. I like it when I like it when there's a lot you can do with trim on the. I think it blends a lot better when it's not when it's baked into the texture.
Well, yeah, there might be some cases where those kind of textures make more sense. All right, yeah.
Okay, so
Well,
like, it's the kind of stuff where like, you could use a decal for it, but it would be very tedious because it's going to
yeah,
be used everywhere. So you would have like, I don't want to place hundreds of decals by hand.
right, and it's volumetric too, so you have to like play with the layers and everything.
Yeah, so for that kind of stuff, if it's stuff that's used everywhere, we want some base textures with like bottom and top trim versions.
All right.
I think that's important, and then but we're not gonna bake window frames and things like that into the walls.
Yeah, so basically we need some walls with an opening for a door, for example, and a window and a door and so stuff.
Well, let's. I don't think we even need. I don't think we need the opening to be in the texture.
Yeah, you don't need this. You
Okay.
just can
Yeah.
have the opening.
Yeah. Just in the geometry. Okay. Yeah, and then we can use a decal to add edge to enhance the edges so that the geometry. Because if you just have a window on a wall, it looks kind of misplaced a little bit a lot of times. If you have like a little bit of an edge effect around it, then that's when things tend to look really good, I think. And the shit. The bevel thing, it actually solves one like small little issue that I was just thinking about.
I'll be careful using brave images.
Yeah, who knows what might pop up. That works. If I can find. Okay, so I had this like. There was this section in that old scene that had like this loading dock like this.
I know the image you're talking about. Yeah.
On the back of a building. Had a door like this. So the building had this loading dock here. And in the original, I made like a little bevel around the edges here, which I'm not going to draw, but there was a geometric bevel just because it looks kind of weird. It looks very very sharp.
Right.
The bevel effect, where it doesn't really change the geometry, but it just softens the normal along a little strip there. That would actually look very very nice for this, and it also solves the problem of what to do in this corner here. Because if you have a geometric bevel, I'll just draw an exaggerated one. It's going to look something like that. And you're still going to have sharp edges. They're just going to be a little bit less sharp. But you're going to have this little exposed area right there.
Yeah, but you can fix that
That
with the
little
vertex manipulation tool.
triangle. But
You
if
can
we're
fix that.
if we're using the new bevel effect, where it just softens, it still keeps the sharp edge, but it just softens it. Then that little triangle never appears, and so you don't have to. That's like one little thing where it's like you don't have to decide what goes there.
Well, like I said, like you can probably fix it with the vertex manipulation tools, but it's probably just easier just to hide a face and call it a day.
Well, it's like what I'm saying is it's a total non-issue now because
Right.
there's no gap there. Because this edge is still, even though it looks like softer, that edge is still completely perfectly sharp. And so that's actually really nice because it eliminates a lot of small little decisions you would have to make. Like if you can imagine this in a corner, like, and then you've got a floor here and a floor here, and then you all of a sudden you add the bevel, and now you've got this little exposed area down there where there's a gap. It just eliminates a lot of. It keeps your geometry relatively simple.
Okay, question. How would one enable or disable this feature? I forgot to ask that.
It's not been released yet, but right now it's just always on.
Right, I
I'm
assume so.
I'm gonna add like a checkbox. What I'll probably do is I might have a checkbox and also like an optional parameter for like for the distance. I have it set to 5 centimeters right now. But yeah, I think it'll be on by default because I think it's more useful. Probably, I don't know.
I,
And
I would, I
then
would, I would urge to keep it off by default, and then if when you need it,
I don't.
or is it,
We'll just have to try both. But yeah, it's something that I think can be toggled on and off on a per face basis, and that interplays heavily with tessellation because without any special handling, this is what tessellation looks like on brushes. So we definitely need the when it's working. What it does is it just pulls in these edges so that they meet seamlessly. So it's interesting how that worked out, but it appears to be working really really well. You can also see here we have this seamless surface here. These are brushes with everything except the bottom, everything except the top piece removed. And so because it doesn't detect any edges, it doesn't, there's no adjacent faces. It doesn't perform any special handling at all, which is actually what you want when you have something like this where you have different objects lined up to make the floor. You can see there's no pull in at all here. And I didn't realize this until this week, but constructive solid geometry is actually fantastic for tessellation. You know why?
it's just basic shapes.
Because the UV mapping is based on world coordinates. Let me turn texture lock off.
Yeah.
So everything just lines up very easily, automatically, in a way that would be very difficult to do otherwise. I mean, it's not impossible. It might not even be super difficult, but it's just with this, you don't even have to think about it. Everything just automatically lines up perfectly. by default, and that just allows you to get a lot more work done a lot quicker. So I think that's all I've got this week. So are we saying that Marcel is in charge of making wall textures?
Let's give he's because he was looking for things to do yesterday. So I guess just give him the green light to work on bricks and see. We'll go from there.
Bricks and metal with yes. Let's show him an example of both, but
Yeah,
I'd say bricks,
so-
metal, and then it would be nice to see an example of a decal that fits precisely around a window frame.
Yeah, that you probably need to explain more of to him. He'll do it. I think he just needs like the guidance. Because one thing I found with some artists is that they don't, especially those that don't like go do level design. Like they don't know what you want, but you have to like show them exactly like what the texture should look like.
They can't read your mind?
No, unfortunately not.
That sucks.
Man, we need to get some
Count me out.
mind readers around here.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Well,
So
it's kind of like what you like, or like pivot points. Like you was like, oh, the pivot point of the window should not be in the center. Like, well, where else should it be? But
not in the center, dumbass.
yeah, not in the center.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's all I got this week. Anything else?
Um, oh, we direct black, and there's a lot of conversations about a diffuse to normal application where you can make it's baked into the editor, but the generate material texture is kind of broken. It's in the forms. The generate material in the editor is kind of broken because sometimes it picks the wrong textures to use to generate a material roughness metallic map. But
Those settings are all right.
what it do? Like if you have a bunch of materials in like a folder, and then you say generate material, it will grab the wrong image to make the meta roughness.
This is what it looks for. It looks for all
Right.
of these suffixes in the name, and if it finds it, then it uses it, and you can modify these. So if you find some different settings that work better, you can post them on the forum, and maybe they will be incorporated if they're used commonly. These are the ones that I have seen, but you don't have to wait for me. Like you can modify
No.
all of this
No, but-
yourself.
No, the issue is that it uses like let's say I have texture A and then all of its textures, and texture B and all of its textures, and then I right click on B to generate a material. It will sometimes use textures A stuff. It only happens when there's a folder of like a lot of materials.
Okay, that might
I
need a
thought
bug
you-
report in order to
Yeah.
so that I can.
Yeah, I
Reproduce it.
think I mentioned it. Well, I mentioned it a while ago, and you said, "Yeah, that happened to me too." But
I don't think I've ever heard of this before.
I don't know. I just prefer to do manually do everything. I have more control over it. But yeah, what I was saying is that diffuse to normal application being worked on is
Wait, is this an extension or a program or what is this?
well, it was your source code, then direct block made into an application because you did something.
okay.
You
Yeah, you
stored-
were setting red to 128 for some reason.
Yeah, you
for
send red to
unknown-
128, and then
I was
direct
probably
block-
just testing something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you just had default settings and you forgot to remove it or something.
Yeah.
I think it's on the programming. Yeah, it's that one right there.
So he improved this.
Yeah, and I improved, and I took it, and on my end, I took it a step forward where I made it so it'll actually work with an extension. So
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so if you were
Oh,
to
so that's
drop,
why you guys were talking about the process, the create process
yeah,
command.
he was.
Yeah, and I was working on converting it to Lua, and yeah, I've been
Well,
there.
I think it's better as a standard application because sometimes you might want to just make something too normal without the editor, but
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
but yeah, he wasn't compressing it, or he was just taking he wasn't compressing it or making generating the bitmaps and just translate that code to generate bitmaps. One other question, since I just got reminded of it, packaging. Is that left on the back burner for now? Because you implemented a system and then we told you that packages
Yeah,
can
let's
be.
see. There's okay, yeah. We figured out that um, we can't do that with Lua. Um, not on the main thread. I did okay. So what I did is I made it so that if you pass a script argument to the editor itself, it
Like
will
plus script.
it will execute that file, that Lua file. And so that can be used to run Lua code on another process, which is okay. That doesn't block the main thread. So we did some testing, and I think it still took like I think it still took like 15 seconds or something like that just to compile the list of files to use, which is too long to have the program freeze. If it was like 2 or 3 seconds with a big project, I think it would be fine, but 15 seconds is too long. And I think that's probably the way we're going to do it, rather than building that functionality into the editor, hard coding it, or building a standalone program. If we can do it in Lua, I would like to, because it's just a lot easier to modify.
Right, and you could derive from it because one thing that someone might want to add in is this might actually make sense. I don't know if you want to do this, but if a material is referencing a source image, like a non-texture, maybe we need something to like say, oh well, this is like not good, this is not optimized, and it'll try to either find the texture for variant, and if there's not one, it will make one.
Yeah,
Because we're
you
humans,
might you
we
might want to
sometimes,
make that into a separate tool. Actually, maybe,
yeah,
I don't know.
maybe because sometimes we like pick the wrong one. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Yeah,
so yeah, maybe there'll be like an option where you just go and say check optimize all materials or something.
yeah. So yeah, I think that's the plan for that, and it's just the getting the tessellation, these details sorted out. That's the highest priority for me right
What
now.
about what about encryption keys? Because
The
that
what?
was the main issue. Encryption keys for the password for the packages.
I think that's all taken care of, isn't it?
But we said that you can just you can just go into a hex editor and find the password key.
Not the way it's set up now. If you look at the
Now,
code generated for a new project, it constructs the password dynamically in a manner that it is not stored as a string in the executable.
okay,
You still might
but
be able to get at it with memory spying
Uh,
tools. What's that?
But
you
then that's more
you
effort.
you
So I
just you
mean, like,
just need the memory address where it's stored, and then on the runtime you could get it. But I think there is no proper way to make it completely safe. So
no, you're never going to completely do it and then have the offset cost of actually being performant on runtime getting their data because then it'll be too slow possibly.
I
You're
think
doing
it's,
it
it's
forever.
it's just to make it as much as complex as you can, that not the majority can. Yeah.
That's probably where I'm going to draw the line, because once you get into
Yeah.
memory, you would have to intercept the program like at the exact right moment, because it only exists in memory for like a few lines of code, and then it's gone. Then it gets overwritten and it's gone.
Right. So what you're telling me is that the publishing tool is pretty much done at this point, or it just needs to pass.
It's fully designed. It
Right.
hasn't been
But
fully implemented, but I think it's fully designed.
so the other. Well, also going back to like running Lua scripts through the editor. So let's say if I write like a Lua script and I don't want to just make it a like C++ application, I can just call the editor just like with the plus script and then just the path of the script. Yeah, actually. Yep, plus script. Script.lua. And you need the full path, right? Like scripts and all that, right?
Um, let's see. Well, when you launch the editor, it's probably launching from the it's probably launching from the current directory of the launched application. So you probably do want the full path, and you probably want that to be in quotes just in case there's any spaces.
So it does it through the project's script folder. Or
Yeah,
the project.
does it actually go to the folder itself where it launches? Is what he's asking.
Yeah, is it the app directory? Is it the current
Yeah.
directory?
You would probably want the full. You would want the full path because it's going to be the editor's going to start and it's going to think that it's in the current directory of the launching application.
Okay, well, that actually might be beneficial for some applications, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So in Lua, it would be like.
I hate the double quote system.
Something like that. I don't know. I can't type this on Discord, but your arguments would be something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so good. I didn't know that feature was implemented.
Yep.
Because one thing you can do right now then is that maybe you can't. No, never mind. I was thinking it's like, oh well, maybe you can just get the editor just to compile a texture for you, but I don't think you could put arguments in. But
I have
Yeah, you could.
actually I have actually also an idea for some other stuff, but it's not related to arguments. It's more in the editor. So in the you can create brush like some primitive stuff, but there is no spheres. So a sphere brush would be nice that you can create in the editor a sphere.
Yeah, I agree.
And also maybe something like a 3D label or something like this entity where you can actually drag and drop it into scene and write some text to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had the exact same idea like last week. I was actually like thinking about what to put right here. I was thinking about putting like a note object so you could put like annotations. Just
Yeah,
have like
well,
some text appear in the world.
you have that in the editor right now. It's just a text with a sprite. It's just a sprite with text on it.
Yeah, so like the required functionality to make that appear is already in there. It's just it would be nice if you could just like drag some text in here and then right
Like-
here like what the text is supposed to be, and then have it just appear. It would just be super convenient.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's good for like Zoom maps and everything where you just want to describe things like, hey, make sure this is this and
Yeah, we could. I mean, we could use that for like adding notes to each other, and then we could also use it for if we have like a developer map and we're trying to show the player, like the user, how to do things. That would be very handy, I think. Was that a sound effect? Heard like a little clink. No, we're just talking about like adding notes. Like if you could just like have like a 3D note like right here that said like brick wall. Just so we could label things just for convenience.
Speaking of GUI and stuff. What is the deal with the UI stuff, Josh? Do you have like planned soon for like a rework of the UI or?
Yeah, it's very flexible the way you can do it right now, and there's examples. There's like 4 different ways you can use it, depending on what you can create a GUI directly on the window itself, which is what the editor does. And in this case, it's using what's the Windows system called, GDI Plus.
Yep.
It's using GDI Plus to render all of this, so the text looks really really good, and the interface is like more.
Reap here is like scared to even draw a single dot on the screen
What's that?
because of the whole UI rework stuff you just wanted to do. So Reap hasn't been wanting to do UI like at all.
Yeah, it's like because it's like a lot of like work.
Because he's
and
so scared you're gonna change everything.
Okay, so the second way you can use it is creating a GUI in the 3D world. And we have an example for that.
Yeah, it's like over engineered.
It's
We
fully.
currently have
It does.
for
It,
like world space.
it does everything that everybody wanted it to do. On a window, you can create it on a window. Then you can create it in a 3D viewport on top of the scene. You can also create a 3D interface that is displayed on a 3D surface. So you can actually have a GUI in the game. Like if you've got a computer in the game, you can put the GUI on the computer screen and feed your own events into it. There's an example of that showing this how to do that. You would also use that for VR. So really,
Yeah, so there's a way for us to like grab a point on where like the players, like a raycast onto the UI.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's up to you to figure out the math for that, but it's not that hard. And there's an example in this, doing exactly that. So 3 ways. There's really 3 ways to use it. I think we can probably, but the way it's set up, you have to use a separate camera. And I think what we want to do is make it a little bit easier to set up a 3D GUI without that separate camera. This is cool because it gives you a lot of control. And you can have post-processing effects on top of the GUI. You can have post-processing effects underneath the GUI, but not on the GUI. You can do everything with this, but it is a little bit tedious to set up. And it would be nice if we had a little bit easier way to make this work. So that's the system itself isn't going to change, but the way that it's displayed, the setup code will probably do another revision of that to try to simplify that a bit. Even at the cost of like some of the more obscure things that you can do, if we lose a little bit of flexibility, I think that's okay.
Well, can you just make it like a variant, like in like a simpler way, and then keep the old way, the legacy stuff, so people that have GUI code today, they can slowly transition to the newer stuff. This way, their stuff doesn't break in an update.
We'll see, but I generally don't like doing things multiple ways. Like you have to. Okay, if you don't decide, if you don't make hard decisions, then you end up with
Unity.
Well, it's like, some people can do things that way. Some people can do things that way. And then when people try to pin you down and say, well, this way sucks, you say, oh, well, you can also do it this way. It's a way of weaseling out of responsibility. I see this all the time with Linux. It's a way of weaseling.
Bro, I was just getting ready to mention that. Like CMake, bro, there's like a million different ways to do the same freaking thing in CMake.
Yeah, if not making hard decisions is a way of weaseling out of responsibility.
It's actually quite nuts.
You could create maybe something like a utility class and make a function which returns all the stuff you need. And you get with a structure like you get the UI, you get the camera, and all the stuff you set up here, you have then in this utility class, for example, create UI or create simple UI, and then you receive a struct with all the necessary stuff.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not sure exactly what the implementation is going to look like.
well,
I think what we probably want to do is like start with what we want the code to look like, and then work backwards to like how it should actually be implemented.
also,
Mm.
we need to figure out a better way for window resizing. Because every time with the older system, every time you resize the window, well, I resize the window by destroying the old window and creating a new one. But every time you do a window change, you have to reset the UI. You have to move the camera back to the bottom left of the screen and everything.
Well, there's the set size. Again, so I mean,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
but you have to
extremely flexible. You can do
no, but you
everything you
actually have
can
to
want.
move. You actually have to move the camera because the frame buffer
Well, of
size will be
course,
different.
of course.
Yeah. So
Why
in the
wouldn't
new
you?
system, yeah. So in the new system, there's not going to be any cameras. That has to be done automatically.
Yeah,
Yeah, because my own VR game is going to have a lot of these world panels for computers and stuff. So that's why I was asking.
yeah. I mean, the system we have now it does everything and it works, but can it be simplified? Probably. Let's. That's basically what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, because having every single one of them, like having a camera of its own, I mean that's cool and all, but I'm not sure how great that would be to do if you have a lot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when the basic premise of using software like this is that your life should be simpler, then yeah, going the that does make sense to me.
It's the same thing with Vulkan.
Yeah, I was. It's a similar situation.
Um, do we have an update with projection matrices for view models?
No, it's not. It's not super high priority.
Um,
I'm not like I'm not too worried about it. So
okay.
cool. Anything else? Dumas, he
No.
says he's going to release Lone Water soon, which I will buy on Steam. If you need help
Mm.
paying for the Kickstarter or for the Steam submission fee, you might consider doing a Kickstarter. I bet you a lot of people would uh, here would help you with that. And Dumaj, if you release Lone Water on Steam, if you did a Kickstarter campaign, I would cover 50% of the cost of that. I think he has several games actually. I listed like, let's see.
Well, if it's possible for him, maybe he can do like all of his games under like one application. I don't know. He probably did everything in Lua, so I mean, if I had like a bunch of small, isolated games, I did in Lua, I would just create one application and then just have it be like 5 games in one kind of thing.
All in one cartridge.
Yeah.
Reeve over here is going to make a 101 games cartridge.
Yeah, yeah. Sentinel Defect, maybe it's a pretty short. I mean, it's just that one room though. Wolf Tail, I think, is great. Science is really good. Lone Water, Evaluation, Little Dragon, Log Riders. I mean, this stuff is like. I mean, you guys realize like these little game jam games are a lot better than a lot of the than like probably better than the average Steam game. I'd say.
Do you have a link for the gem games?
For what? Oh,
The gem games.
let's
I think he
see.
actually wants to play it.
Okay, so let's see. I'll this is where I was looking, like here, and then let's look at Leadworks Game Launcher.
Yeah, I think the issue is that a lot of
Yeah.
the game launcher doesn't work anymore for some reason.
It's
Yeah.
pointless now.
Well, it's also pointless now too. But I
But-
think like
Oh, I forgot the early access thing is still on it.
It's pointless now, but it was sort of a. I think the bundles is what like our eventual delivery of what this was trying to do. So Sentinel Defect
Yeah.
is small, but I think it's quite well done. A Demon's Game is very good.
but that's on Steam.
Yeah. I contacted
It
the
has on the
author,
workshop.
but let's see. Log Riders. I think this is good enough to release on Steam. Charged 99 cents for this. I think this is great. Lone Water. Again, it's short, but it's a well done thing. I mean, you're really committing a crime by not sharing your work with the world. This is extremely well done. Now we need this with Tessellation. Tessellated Dragon, Tessellated Blocks.
Oh, I've been porting the sci-fi DLC from what works for prototyping stuff.
Yeah. It's probably not that hard because Ultra Engine supports the old formats.
Yeah, but it's broken. The models
Yeah.
I have to fix them. So
Yeah, the
I
model.
think it's the collision mesh or something.
Yeah.
Like it shows up like white or whatever, right?
Yeah, you have to like generate new ones. I did
Yeah.
the Cyclone.
I'll have to
props
convert them to
working.
GOTF or something or whatever, right? I mean,
No. So if you just resave the model, it will resave to the new format, but you need to like discard the old collider, and then just generate a new one.
Ah, okay. So just delete it out, the thing.
Yeah, and then save it, and then add a new one.
Yeah, so science, this has like 8 levels, and it's a very simple art style, but this is actually like the scariest game anybody's made with Leadworks. Because those things kill you in like one hit. And it's very well done. Yeah, I mean, people would love to pay 99 cents to play that.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, because like 99 cents is literally pocket money.
And in the past, like it might. I think this is from the same author. Let's see, this is a similar thing. In the past, it probably wouldn't have made sense because you upload this on Steam and it's just going to be completely ignored. But now we have the game bundles.
Yeah.
Anesthetic. Oh, this is cool. We'll have to get rid of the Max Payne music, but this is fun. Or Painkiller, whatever. This is actually really hard too.
Yeah, people would really like this.
And who knows, somebody might get a hit out of this. They might get like a really good response from one game and then find out.
I can see people who like Painkiller would like this.
That's what I was trying to do with the game launcher stuff. It was like I was trying to like find some way to share like the success Leadworks was having with you guys some way. And the game bundles, that's the thing that actually works. Like we tripled everyone's sales, I think. So if you release a game on Steam now, it's not just you by yourself. Like
you're not gonna get buried in a mountain of trash.
Yeah, you will get some level of exposure now. We can pretty much guarantee that because we know now we have actual data from the Leadworks Games bundle, and what you guys saw that week. That wasn't just for the launch. You're gonna see that you're going to see that same level every single month. So now you've got some additional revenue coming in that you can count on.
Well, I think also the sale actually helped too because you got the editor and then you got like 3 games with it, and a lot of people when they see a deal like, oh, I get a royalty free engine and I get games.
Well, those are going to be happening every 6 weeks. So now you guys are part of the Leadworks money train.
Woo. Yeah, hopefully, maybe I'll get custom master cycling.
I
Maybe
want
you
like
could
a
hire
Steam
more than
train,
one
like
model.
With Anthony.
I said maybe you can have a backup modeler for when your other modeler goes out.
Yeah.
Is there, by the way, is there something to that can I set up the Steamworks multiplayer thing? Are there some tutorials in the forum or somewhere else? I was thinking to make a small coop game, but I'm also not sure if I need to put the game then first on Steam in order to make it to work, or in order to bring it to work.
I think you could use the Space War app ID.
You can just use the 480 Space Wars app ID and it should work with the network.
What? I never had
They have an example app ID that you can that everyone can use that
Yeah.
supports
Valve
all the
has an
features.
example app ID.
Okay.
Yeah.
480.
It's 480.
I think it might be already set up in the project if there's a text file that says like Steam app ID.
Yeah, and then in the Steamworks zip, that's that game, and it references how to use the Steamworks API. But we have a wrapper
Is
for.
is it hard in order to make something or bring something to work?
I didn't do
With Ultra?
With the Steam networking,
Yeah.
I think it's extremely. I mean, I think it's about as easy as like it's probably easier than eNet. If you
Okay.
if you
It's
know that.
probably the easiest thing you're going to use networking wise, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I did some server, but I don't really want to have a coop game in a server, so I think peer-to-peer is the better option for this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Speaking of eNet, would it be possible for you to share the old eNet code, the client server peer code? Because
Yeah, I think I uploaded it somewhere, but I'll upload it again.
Yeah, if you can link me to that, that'd be great. Because that would be good for intranet connections, where for debugging, like let's say you are doing remote logging or something.
Yeah. Also, like it's good for if you need a way to communicate between two applications.
Yeah,
I was using
that
it for
too.
I was using it for debugging for Lua and Leadworks, but I don't use it for it's out of the engine now because I don't use it for anything. But I don't mind sharing that code.
Yeah, if you can just upload that to like GitHub, that'd be great. Because yeah.
I'll upload it to the forum, I think.
All right, awesome.
Okay, cool. I'm about ready for lunch. Anything else?
Yes. What do you want me to do today, tomorrow? Like, what is my job?
Let's talk to Marcel, and I think our job is to communicate to Marcel exactly what we need with these wall textures, and to see if he can get that done.
All right.
So our job is communications and management.
And yeah, because I know you stopped the template, but I'm still like kind of working on it. I'm still thinking about workflow and tools and like how to do things, and like the X-Form project I'm probably gonna purge and redo. Not purge and redo, but like clean it out because there's a lot of like
Go ahead.
content.
Yeah, I have to make those buildings. Some of the buildings are too small. Anyways, I'm gonna have to redo some of that.
I reorganized some things. In the maps folder, I renamed that map to FPS shell, and that has development textures. I put your old map. You actually now have personal folders in the map folder. So the old map you were working on is under maps personal Josh.
All right, just a moment. 1 minute.
Yeah, so. But that goes for everyone. Nuking. Gonna clean it out because there's just so much in there. It's just not being used.
Reap. Whatever entities would we want to create as components?
So that's by the template of what I'm doing right now. So I create a lot of logic components. I created sliding door components. I created the first person player controller. So that's kind of like what I'm kind of was magically put in charge of. That
Mhm.
So I have like a bunch of logic components. Um, that it's kind of like logic relay, logic timer, auto.
Yeah, I seen you uploaded those ones on.
Yeah, but I created like a whole bunch more. I created a state and gate components where it's like a logic branch and a logic branch listener from source.
Right.
So um I'm pretty when Josh gets back, I'll ask if I can share those. I don't know if he's waiting for that, but if I could just upload that because those are pretty solid.
All right.
Have you made a random output one yet?
Yeah, random output. That's there.
Yeah. All right.
Josh, is it okay if I share some of the components that I've been working on, or you want to wait till the grand release?
No, those. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, because I think the logic. I was writing actually documentation for them, and the idea is you will go to the learn page, and then the included components will actually have documentation associated with it. So this way, people will actually know it's there and what it does instead of just ignoring it and reinventing the wheel again.
I suggest waiting on documentation until the very last. Do that very, very last.
Right, but I did it for my developer stuff because that was quick and simple, and I just wanted to get the feel of how I would do that.
Okay.
So, but it's a goal of mine.
By the way,
But yeah, Josh, you have, I'm gonna reorganize X-Form, so whatever. So back up whatever you have.
that's fine. I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
By the way, Steam reviews are the life and blood of Ultra Engine. We have a very good rating here, and if we just get 2 more, then I think we'll that'll kick us up to 20, and I think that puts us in the next category. So that positive at that point will probably turn into very positive, and this is so important because when at some point in the future when we're ready, I'm going to go back to Valve and I'm going to say hey, we would really like to get increased exposure for this software on Steam. I think it's going to do some really great things for your VR ecosystem. And look how much people love it. We just need some higher visibility. And that's going to help me be able to deliver great features to you, like these new Tessellation features that are coming out soon. And it's also going to help you because if Ultra and Leadworks have more visibility on Steam, that means your games that are packaged with our bundle or linked from our website are going to also have more visibility. So it's a giant win-win for everyone, especially the player who gets to run through the museum and through the town and to find out what the mayor, the villain, did. And through this...
I have not played Salvation yet, so...
You have not lived until you have played Salvation.
I've been too focused on analyzing Fallout 4 Institute stuff.
Yeah, all of these are really well done. And
I played most of Cyclone though, Reap. So
Oh, good.
I didn't finish the last level though.
I gimped that level, so you should be able to finish it.
Did you have to turn down the
I just
difficulty?
left off from there.
I had to remove a lot of timers because at the end I ran out of ideas and my
yeah,
cop-out.
I do have to say that number 8 was yeah, a little frustrating.
I have to remember what that is.
It's the one with the timed with the energy pellet, basically, but you have to time it.
You have to jump across that pit
very
quickly with the green acid in it.
No, there's no acid or anything. It's just one room, and you have to redirect the energy pellet very quickly across the wall. Is to hit into the activator.
Mm.
Yeah, all of these games are a lot of fun. So leave reviews for them. And I thank you for your reviews you leave on Steam for Ultra Engine Pro and Ultra Engine. Mostly Pro, the version. That seems to be the one that people are getting overwhelmingly. But
Yeah.
that really, really helps. If you want to, you can press the like button on YouTube. I don't really care if you do or not. But I'm not going to stop you. But Steam reviews, that I actually do care about. So, if there's nothing else, then we will stop the video recording and call it a week. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And I will see you next week, where I think we will have more. We'll be able to show the tessellation stuff in more depth at that point.